To me, a spell is an act of creation. It's kind of like a pottery artist, how they can grab a mass of clay and they slap it down onto their wheel, and then they get in there with their hands and manipulate it and they shape it. And from this lump of essentially nothing, they can create a physical representation of beauty. They can make form and they can put into this lump of clay any intention, any purpose that they want, and it becomes something amazing. That's what I think a magical spell is like. Hello, my fair friends, I'm Ruby Ruse, and welcome to Fairy Fortunes, where I talk about fairy folklore and my personal journey with modern fairy faith, spirituality, and magic. Now, occasionally I do get a little heated because I don't like that derogatory term, fluffy bunny, so you might see the occasional bunny bomb where I put out there some things that might be controversial in the magical community. This is just my personal opinion on this matter, but I think my description of a magical spell being an act of creation may be why many people are uncomfortable with magic. It's even in the Christian Bible. Magic is possible. However, it seems to be that the Christians in the Bible believed that all things magical should come from the Christian God, and certainly not from just a human. Like, there should be divine intervention when you create magic, when you create, where you take a shapeless lump of an idea, if you will, and then you manifest that idea into a tangible, useful manifestation in this world. And another personal opinion that I hold is that a magic spell is not a prayer. A prayer can take two different forms. A prayer could just be a communication or dialogue with a divine being, or a prayer could be a petition of sorts. Instead of creating something for yourself, I want this, I'm going to create this. Instead of that, using an act of magic, a prayer could be a petition for that. I want this, so I'm going to go to this God and ask for that. I don't think there's anything wrong with petitioning a God, but when you do that, you're placing all of the responsibility for your desire into the hands of someone else who doesn't necessarily share that desire. Especially when we're talking about material things in the human world. For example, if I want a new car, there's a lot of human logistics that go into that. You know, where am I going to get the financing? Where am I going to get the down payment? How am I going to pay insurance? What kind of car do I want? Like, maybe I need a work truck rather than a small sedan. Like, there's a lot of things that go into that. So if I'm in control of, I want a car, then I have the capability to say, okay, I'm going to save up this amount of money doing it this particular way, or I'm going to work overtime so that I can acquire what I need for the down payment. I'm going to budget for my new insurance. And then on top of that, I get to choose not only the type of car I'm getting, but maybe even the color and the year and the features that I want on that car. A God is not necessarily going to fully care about your desires. A God might say, well, this'll work, like, use this, but that might not be exactly what you need. Kind of like a teenager going to their parents and saying, I need a car to, like, go to my part-time job after school. The teenager doesn't have the capability of having any control over that vehicle. They're getting whatever they get, whatever their parents can afford, or maybe they have to share a car with their siblings, and the car may not fit all of their requirements. If you're a teenager in a rock band, for example, and you need to transport the drum kit to your locations, a Honda Civic is not going to work for you. Like, you need a transport vehicle. So that's what happens when you petition a third party for your own desire. It's just doesn't give you the full control that a spell has over a prayer in certain circumstances. I do think that when you're creating a spell, if you want to add a prayer into a spell, I think that that can be beneficial in some places, but I don't necessarily think that you need to pray to a god in order to create magic. For example, chaos magic. Chaos magic, in theory, just kind of exists, and you create something almost out of nothing in chaos magic. So there doesn't have to be any petition when you go after a desire and create a magical spell to manifest that desire. I have seen a lot of discussion on social media that magic is inherently dangerous. I personally don't think that magic is any more dangerous than any other human activity. For example, just walking down the street could be a dangerous act because there's so many possibilities and so many variables of what might happen. As you're walking down the street, you could have something fall on you from the sky and kill you instantly. You could be hit by a car minding your own business on the sidewalk. You could even drop dead of a heart attack. Like, there's just no way to account for any eventuality that could happen as you're taking a leisurely stroll down the street. So everything has the potential to be dangerous. So I don't think that we need to go through all of these hoops and circles and castings to shield ourselves from every eventuality that could happen in magic. Is it possible, for example, that you're creating a magical spell and you're doing this beautiful ritual and you're creating and you're waving your magic wand? Like, could you attract, say, disembodied spirits? You know, maybe you live next to a graveyard. Yes, I actually do think that that is a possibility. This whole channel, Fairy Fortunes, is devoted to spirits that were never human, that are disembodied or existing on a different plane. So could you attract a fairy spirit if you're in your house casting a magical spell? Yes, I do think that that is possible. However, I think it's just as likely that they don't care. Like, if we're going to go there and say that ghosts and non-human spirits exist, if we accept that, which if you're watching this channel, I hope that you do, like, why are you here if you're not, right? But if we accept that that is a reality in our human existence, well, wouldn't it stand to reason that those spirits have their own agendas, they have their own goals, they have their own purposes for being? Like, I don't think that all disembodied spirits really care. I also think it's important to remember that relationships with divinity is exactly that. It's supposed to be a relationship. So I don't think there's anything wrong with going to a god and saying, I have this desire, can you help me? That's a legitimate prayer. I don't see anything wrong with that. However, if you think about it, in those relationships, we all have that one friend that is always asking, that's always taking, and never reciprocates, and that relationship does become strained. I think that we have a lot to offer our gods. We provide a lot of appreciation. We provide validation. Like, who doesn't like to hear that they matter, that what they have to offer makes a difference? Who doesn't like to hear that you're just grateful to have their presence in your life? That's how we build on relationships. You want to give as much as you receive, because that's how relationships grow. But does that mean that you shouldn't ask a god for anything, or even, for example, a friend for anything? When you ask another person for a favor, the person that you're asking that favor of is more likely to have a favorable opinion of you, because people like being useful. I also think that it's an act of humility and vulnerability to ask for a favor. It lets that person who you're essentially petitioning be more open to you. It opens a door of that vulnerability, and it creates that space for them that at some point in the future, they'll be able to return that vulnerability and ask for a request of you in the future as well. Bottom line, I think that spells are very different than prayers, but both have an important place in magical practice. If you liked this video, I do hope that you will consider subscribing to the channel, and I think that you would really also enjoy the video Secrets and Keeping Silent in Magic. Please consider following me on Facebook, Instagram, and occasionally on TikTok. And with that, my fair friends, have a magical day.